to Ideas with Impact podcast. Today, my guest is Natalie Fraser, who is the founder of Unedited Woman, helping women embrace the true authentic selves through healing and self-reflection. Hello, Natalie.
Hi, so nice to
How are
see
you
you.
today?
I'm great, thank you.
Yeah, how are you surviving the storm?
I'm enjoying being cozy and avoiding going out into it and looking at it in its beauty through the windows. For
Yeah,
now, maybe tomorrow, maybe this afternoon I'll go and out in the yard with the dog and play in the snow a bit.
yeah, and just try to shovel all that snow out.
That'll be this evening. It seems to be my workout for the season.
Mhm.
I'm really actually embracing the shoveling.
You know what? In this cold, for sure, it's like a nice way up to get out. I have my kids shovel the deck and everything, and then my chickens are a little bit further away from the house, but I have shoveled the path to go there, so I don't have to like go over the snow. And the kids are like, "Oh, we'll shovel it for you." I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. Let me do this, please. I enjoy being outside because with the cold too, I'm just like." I'm too comfortable to be in the house. So I'm like, no, I need to get out. So that's my only joy to kind of shovel the snow going to the chicken.
Mhm. We have a trail in our forest that we made, and when the
Mm.
ice storm happened, they were giving away they turned all the tree branches into wood chips, and we filled our forest with trails. And so in the winter, the other part of our workout is we have a big bucket shovel that we put old tires in, and we drag it through the trails in the forest. So that's our other workout, which I love to do.
Oh, that's very cool.
And
Yeah,
then that
very.
means that if anybody who's got physical challenges or are older, they can also still enjoy the forest with us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's so nice to get out, even just to connect with nature and connect with yourself and just to get some fresh air, you know? So
hmm I
as our Canadian
deliberately
winters, are so long, might as well, embrace it and enjoy it.
and I see this the I really embrace the seasons, and winter I feel is that time where, although the Western world has gets us ramped up with year end and busy, I also, on a natural level, know that it's the time to go in and reflect and
Mm.
sort and clear for the spring, to get to that place where I'm planting seeds and then in the summer just playing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so weather-wise, we're not weather people. But again, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your journey and sharing your knowledge with us.
Thank
So
you.
I would like to start with um, what have inspired you to create the Unedited Woman program?
A few things. The first is I've been offering counsel to people for over 30 years, men and women, families, and I found myself repeating myself a lot. And it's expensive to have one-on-one care generally. If you try and book an appointment, it's going to cost you hundreds of dollars. And I feel that there's value in it. I also want to help as many people as possible. So I wanted to be saying it to more people at once. And then I also didn't want people to feel limited if they couldn't afford or were waiting for help. I wanted to create a system where people could learn how to heal their triggers and wounds on their own, learn how to develop emotional intelligence, learn ultimately how to self-regulate. And so that is, I found that with the state of the world right now, that I work with both men and women, but the ultimate healing, I believe, in the future is going to have a lot of the healthy feminine in it for men and women, and that all of us ultimately have to heal those two things in ourselves. So I thought women together, working on it together, finding that within ourselves is the first step. And then when we're ready, spreading it out and joining with this coming year. We're going to be joining with some men's groups to just exchange the journey of spiritual path, which I think is synonymous with basically maturity.
Mm.
So the
Yeah,
other
it's
reason, yeah,
yeah.
the
Go
other
ahead.
reason why I did it is for myself, is that I do this work as my practice and it runs on an annual cycle. And so I start over again every year. And like so many things to regulate, I find, and I find other people feel, accountability helps and community helps. So for me, having other people walking with me, each of us, it's self-inquiry. So we're all walking alone together. And we can touch in, and we have found a language together where there is safety and comfort.
Mm. How do you how would you describe um, what some of the women going through, or even men, through these challenges?
Hmm.
Like how do you how would you describe that?
Like going through the challenge of which, like
Mhm.
just
Well,
challenges
with
in general, just
yeah,
resistance in general. Well,
exactly.
universally, whether you're in the, like, there's a whole free community that anyone can join, and the Unedited Woman, and then there's the core training program, which is what I was sort of talking about. But for universally, um, my first step to anyone is to say, just stop
Mhm.
and scan and notice where you're holding any tension and literally just relax. I call these my 11s. Relax the 11s. Notice if your teeth are touching. Let them not touch. Work your way down and release the resistance physically first. Because the body never lies, but when we're living in a state of stress, we're often cut off from the body and living from the neck up. And so getting grounded, getting back into the physical feeling of ourselves. And then I feel like the spark of life, our connection to the part that makes us all of it, is the breath. And so I say, notice where your breath is and try and get it into your belly. Take a deep breath before you open your mouth, so that
Mm.
it doesn't need to be a meditation. It doesn't need to be attached to anything. Just let go of the resistance physically and breathe more deeply. And then, whatever it is you have to express, no matter what emotion it is,
Mhm.
you will have more clarity and safety and confidence in it.
Mhm.
So that would be the one of the starting things that I offer people. Simple. A lot of the things I've learned from years of studying, and I'm always the student and the teacher, is that, you how much we're already capable of ourselves, but how important it is to um, self-regulate through self-awareness. So another part that I teach that's really important is mindfulness. So that's something else I say. If do you know what it means to be mindful? So many people associate it with meditation or just noticing, and I try and use simple terms and take all these teachings and narrow them down into nuggets. They're attainable. So it's living consciously aware of how you're living mentally, physically, and emotionally in your body, and how you're relating to and responding to people living mentally, physically, and emotionally around you, and making sure that there's kindness, respect,
Mhm.
and ultimately, I like to say love. But again, sometimes that word off the go
Mhm.
is triggering for people.
Mhm.
Kindness and respect are pretty general and clear, though.
Mhm. Does it
And
take a
and
while?
yes. Hmm?
Yeah. Does it take a while for people to kind of get aware, or be conscious?
No,
Or okay. Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. If they have those limiting beliefs in a way, right? It's just like, how do you break those limiting beliefs?
hmm I certainly break nothing. Unless it's in myself, right? I think that each person I can share information, and my goal is to create authenticity in myself, to practice what I teach. If I'm not doing it, people sense it and know it, and I will not be able to deliver it as clearly. If I live by example, I find that reinforces what I say. So when I offer it to other people, I'm also very direct and frank. And although I'm saying the same things, I have learned, like the Tao, 10,000 different ways to say the same thing by studying so many different modalities. So,
Mm,
how I would say to be conscious of the way that you're living, be your own observer, would be very different from one person to the next. Again, generally, I notice the way that I'm speaking very generally and archetypally, that the way a woman receives it is very different than the way a man receives it. And so that's another reason why I've done the group the way I can, so that when I'm speaking to them, um, I'm more likely to have them get their aha faster. But even my mindfulness, I have to choose it every day. And it's
mm,
especially when I'm in distress, when I'm feeling helplessness or hopelessness, that I need to have trained myself enough in non-stressful times to make it my new automatic response. And the only way
mhm,
that happens is the same way everybody learns, is repetition, repetition, repetition.
mhm. So, talking about limiting beliefs, what are some of the most common pressures people face in today's world?
Well, there's the universal enough. Am
Mm,
I enough? Do I have enough? Am I doing enough? The enough factor is pretty much always coming up. And then I believe that that there, I think it was Gabor Mate who came up with this, but I mean it's universal, that if people don't have a sense of belonging,
mm,
and they don't have a sense of purpose, and they don't have somewhere a source of unconditional love, then that is the root of their distress.
mm. Are
And
these
so
pressures mostly internal or external, or both?
I believe we are the authors of our own lives. That's why it's called Unedited Woman, to get rid of the stories that were given to you and make them your own, and also to change your narrative so that you are living body, mind, and spirit the way you want. And so, external pressures, I choose, I believe. I mean, how I perceive them, how I respond to them or react to them. So I believe that people's power is not, regardless of what other people are doing, they could be literally holding a gun to you or putting physical pressure on you. There's not a lot you can do with about that, as much as you can do with the internal. So I focus on mostly the internal, and then learning how to not respond in the fear, fight, flight,
Mm,
fawn, freeze, but in go beyond fear to your heart, and then you know what to do. And usually that'll mean remove yourself from that situation
right.
and deal with yourself. And even if that person, that pressure needs to be dealt with, I go back to that original note. Whether it's just release the tension and drop your breath, go back and look in before you look out. I always say when you're pointing out, you got one finger pointing out, three pointing back at you, and one that doesn't know what it's doing. So it's just
Right.
statistically, it's better to look in, and we'll feel more empowered, and we'll probably make better decisions about what we do with the external pressure if we first have learned how to regulate ourselves internally.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big one for people, I find. It's
Hmm.
just, I think we all can reflect on our younger selves, right? Of how we've been programmed in a way to believe in a
Yes.
certain way. And it's like peeling that layer of that onion to get to that core of what really is um, meaningful, or you in a way, right?
Yes. I have an onion analogy when I'm working with clients. I say, there's old onions and there are new onions, and both onions are lessons,
Mm,
and they are often perceived as wounds, because I don't believe that the world is here to punish us. I believe we're on that it's earth school. And every time I want to think like, ah, that person is oppressing me or that person is hurting me, my solution doesn't come from that. It comes from the other. So a new onion is a new problem. And when you take the layers off a new onion, when you get to the core, it gets sweeter. So the success of a new problem, when you hand it up front, you feel the change and you feel the growth. An old onion is disgusting and rotten at the center. It's the worst part. So a lot of my clients, when they're working on the layers of the onion, they're like, it's not working. And so I ask them to look and see, is that a new thing or an old thing? And sometimes you have to, that sign that it feels worse is actually that you're almost there at releasing that wound and learning that lesson.
So do you think people are trying to discard the old onion, like you mentioned, and forget about it? Or to kind of have a better life? Or do you think that we should embrace the old and then look forward to the new?
Yeah, when I was just talking to someone about grief, and they said specifically about someone in there that they love dying, and they said that grief never ends, and I don't agree with that. And from firsthand experience, it's I don't think grief has a clock, though. I think it can be very short or many decades even, but that it can be overcome. So the way I look at the onion thing is that, or any problem, it's once the lesson is learned, the problem goes away, but the content is still there. So I can miss my sister who died a tragic death, and I've grieved her, but I no longer have that. Now my memories of her are actually way fuller. My memory is clearer. When I was in distress, it was hard for me to see her face, to hear her voice, to hold the memories that were happy and be in joy in them. And on the other side of grief, I found an expansion, an opening into even more connection and to be able to celebrate in the memories. Also things like being sexually assaulted and being in that position where someone has physically oppressed me. I had to go into it to release the resistance. But just that once the lesson is learned and the resistance is gone, the story's still there. It doesn't go anywhere. I now no longer live in resistance to it, so it's just part of me. I look at problems as well as like at first they seem like a boulder.
Mhm.
And I'm an eagle feather carrier, so with eagle medicine, the idea is you need to zoom out. And when you zoom out from something, the further you get away, the perspective changes. And the further you get away from a problem, eventually that big boulder becomes just a grain of sand on our beach of life. So if we have the ocean is of emotion, then the sand and all these things, all our lessons, all these things that we overcame are our foundation, our dance floor, our ground. And so it's not about forgetting, it's about perception and it's about resistance.
Mm. Yeah, grief is not just death. I mean, grief is death of something, not necessarily a person. Um, but yeah, it's like, how do you let go of that resistance? Because we hold on to that we hold on to that grief.
Hmm.
It's like we're afraid to let go of that because maybe some people feel, I wouldn't say comfort, but some people maybe don't know better.
I think they actually do feel comfort. I think that we hold, like, sometimes people stay in relationships that they know are not healthy because it's what they know. And the unknown is scarier than the discomfort of the known. And so I also think that firsthand experience on this one, I didn't consciously, but then consciously identified myself through empathy by being able to sit with other people's pain and say, I can sit with your pain because I also have great pain, you know?
Mm,
And then it becomes like a connection as well. But I learned over time, like, I don't really do empathy anymore. I will give a dose of empathy. I don't sit in it anymore. I sit in compassion. I'm going to be in my light and shine it. And those, instead of going to those who are in darkness, I make sure they see my light shining and know that it's open and welcoming. And when they're ready, they can come to me if they so choose, if I'm the light that they're attracted to. I spent so many years chasing. And in terms of people's stories, that's what it is. That's why it's Unedited Woman. And in the program, every year we do a show at the Gladstone, and we have some publication where women are allowed to tell their stories. Stand in their power by giving voice to saying, I am, right now, I am this. Or right now, I realize I'm no longer holding on to this. It's just part of who I am. It's not all of who I am. And so when we stay in, like, I am an alcoholic, I have CPTSD, I have diabetes, I am handicapped, I am red, yellow, orange, blue, purple, that
Mhm.
sometimes in our I ams that attach us to other people, that connect us to other people, but we see it as like makes us feel like that sense of belonging. We start rejecting other things that don't meet that and forget to be all of it, the fullness of who we are. So
Mm,
it's very important in my evolution to keep the story going
mm.
and remember that I can't get on to the next chapter if I'm still rewriting or mourning or identifying by a story that's already done.
How do people detach themselves from the I am?
Well, I am is really great in terms of things that are positive and essential and immediate. So I do IAMs every day to help me reprogram new neural pathways. So the things where I feel like I'm not or I'm struggling, like let's say maybe money. Let's say I want some more. If I say I don't have enough money, the universe doesn't hear in negation. So it hears, oh, you want to be in lack? You're in lack. So
Mhm.
I work towards phrasing and I encourage people to say what you want in the affirmative. So, and say who you want to be in the affirmative. And if it's in negation, if it's in resistance, if it's in lack, then those are the I ams that deserve to be rewritten into what you actually want instead of what you feel you can't have or you don't have.
Mm.
Does
But
that
you
make
also
sense?
have to, yes, but you also have to attach the emotion to the I am. Is that correct? Because
Yes,
saying I am,
eventually you do. But I encourage, and through practice, a lot of people we'll get to the attachment of the heart because you're right. If this and this don't connect, then it's just a bunch of words. But often, I don't, that fake it till you make it can be a dangerous statement. But also, if you just start a practice and you repeat them and you repeat them, the way neuroplasticity works is of the mind.
mm,
Is now, it doesn't mean it's not of the heart as well. I'm just saying you're creating neural pathways, and it's like there are all these thoughts that we have, and some when they're like-minded they wire together and become a group, and this is automatic response, and
mhm,
you can't undo that automatic response if it was one that's not serving you anymore by saying I don't want it. You have to think of it like a skier. That trail, once the trail is no good, even if there's more snow on top of it, it's not going to work. You just need to step to the left or the right, pivot, and create a new trail. And then
mhm,
out of that new trail, you decide what the path is. And then there'll be other like thoughts. And there's not enough of that binding agent in the brain for old ones to stick if the other one is thought more. So it'll disperse to create the new automatic response. And that's how we transfer from one to the other. So there's that scientific repetition that actually will, through a lot of repetition, have some impact that will assist a person who is resistant to eventually getting to their heart. So I get people doing I ams and gratitudes and affirmations even before they're ready to, and feel safe enough to really get into their heart. But once they get into their heart and they connect the two, especially if the foundation is already there
it's
and they
magic.
felt logic in it, then it's like,
Mm.
it's, yeah.
I can definitely resonate with that because when I was going through some difficult times about 8 years ago, I I read Joe Dispenza's book, and the I ams were there for sure. And in my head, I was like, oh, I just it's crazy. I'm like, why am I saying these things? But I kept on saying it and saying it, and I think after what I did, because I didn't believe it. And then what I did is I had my little notes all over my bathroom, my refrigerator in the kitchen, in my bedroom. And I would stand in front of the mirror and I would say them out loud.
Yes.
And it took me a while, but once I got into, I want to say close to a year. And I know it's a long process, but we're all at different levels and we all take information a different way. And took me a long time, but after a while, I was like, wow. I would be in the car and I would saying it, but I would saying it with emotion
Yes.
and I would feel it. And it changed my trajectory of my life completely, shifted my thinking, shifted everything in my life, which I'm grateful for.
So
So
true. I always say you can go in any door, emotional, physical, mental, spiritual. They all are leading to the same path, to the same core. And so whatever, sometimes you don't want to talk it out. Sometimes you don't want to feel it out, right? Sometimes you don't want to pray or meditate it out. So yeah, you act it out, you work it out, right? But it can, and different people um, get there in different ways at different times, just like you said. But in that question is, does it need to start at the heart? I think it's
no,
almost impossible for someone who's not in their heart to start at their heart. And it's
I
through the repetition. It's like kids, when you're raising kids, I felt it as a parent. It's like, I have said that 9,000 times. And then a teacher or a friend says it and they're like, guess what? And they have their aha moment.
yeah.
It's not personal. And also parents who get frustrated or teachers who get frustrated with repeating themselves. That's our job. And in that idea of saying it as many different ways as possible, that gives us a more opportunity to get to that aha moment. And that aha moment is where it drops from here into here.
Mm.
And I think that that is exciting, and I wish I knew it when my kids were much younger.
Mm. Mm. I think yeah, we we've all been there, and I think again there's this huge shift happening right now of the consciousness awareness that's happening around. People are more uh, like if I'm looking at my parents, for example, I know my parents are very one way or the highway. It's very hard for them to either to admit to certain things or accept the change. It's like I'll give you an example. I don't like using my parents, but I will.
That's
Like
okay.
my mom she doesn't listen to the show. It's okay. Hi, mom. She's had the same hairstyle, I kid you not, for over 40 years. And I always say to mom, I'm like, Mom, why don't you change it just a little bit? Let go, just maybe change a little bit of the color. And she's like, nope, this is the way I like it.
Yeah.
So it's the mindset of them be like, I don't want the new me. I'm good where I am. I'm comfortable where I am. So
Yeah. It's a generational thing, and also it's about, but it's the same motivation as I'm sure your pursuit of what you do to find your comfort in life is different than hers, but um that older generation and certain personality types that will cling to comfort, but there's no growth in comfort, which is
mhm.
okay. Older couples, actually, one of my dearest friends, her husband's mom died last week. And 2 days later, her dad died. His dad died of a massive heart attack. And they were of that generation where they lived in relationships that were codependent. And so there's actually, I don't know the science of it, but I don't know there is science about the way people kind of like neurons wire together. People change, your chemistry change. You know, when women gather and their periods regulate, right? I think that in attachment couples, they or men in history who upon retirement would die a couple of years later because their identity was their work. So when we put our identity outside of ourself, then our safety is dependent on external things, whether it's a haircut, a ritual, a group, you know. I think it's a lot why a lot of people are attracted to religion, that it's the books are all great, but people are seeking to be told instead of to seek in that other group. So for your mom and her hairstyle, there's probably safety, and she's able to probably even feel some pride in it, in that that's like how I know myself.
Absolutely. It's the identity.
Right, like sometimes I just stopped wearing it because the leather broke, but I for years have been wearing I'm Osa, and that's my spirit name is La Osa Pachamama, and I wore a bear claw that was given to me by one of my teachers around my neck. It never came off, and I've had these identifiers. The fact that I go by Osa Natalie Fraser, my birth name is Natalie, my spirit name is Osa. I feel like they identify two parts of me, but I choose that. I am now wearing more white. It's a thing I'm doing. Some people think it's weird. It's what I do to be in my I-ness, my beingness, my to identify that connection between Natalie and Osa, the part of me that is all of it pre this earth journey, and the part of me where I just get to identify as this one unique individual.
Mm.
So it is. So if we look at it in that context, is there anything that you adorn yourself with, or any kind of rituals that you have that you've been in for a long time that she might look at and go, why don't you change that?
Yeah, I think so. But I'm very fluid. I'm very open to, like, I'm not stuck in um being obsessed with one thing.
Hmm.
It's just, you know what? It's life flows and
Yes.
we
Attachment
change.
is dangerous.
Yes.
Hmm.
You know, just because I have long hair, well, I can cut it tomorrow and I'll be okay with that. I'm not attached to my hair. Why I have long hair? Well, because I like it, you know. But like literally, if the time would come and I'll be like, no, I want to have a short hair, I would call my hairdresser. I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm open, no
I think
attachment.
it's like grief. I think your mom could do the same. It's just like a grief for my father took 20 years. Grief for my sister took a few.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and so she may or may not be attached to it, she might just really like it, but you're right, attachment in itself, where I call it the claw. I'm like, if you hold on to something, one, like if you're holding yourself from something else, because that is holding. And life is never still fully. I mean, it's energy and movement, right? It's vibration. And so if I hold on too tight and I keep squeezing my fist, then another reason why people don't stop is because it hurts. After you've held that long, they know there's going to be pain.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they also know on the other side there'll be freedom, they're afraid of the pain,
Yes.
that it will be different than the pain they know.
Yeah. The
And if you know
unknown.
about resistance, also gets stuck, right? So like we get stuck in patterns, we get stuck in rhythms and routines and behaviors. They go from something that we created, and when we create something, it can head down in two directions. It can go from something that becomes ritual, or something that becomes addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And all addiction, whether we pick something up or not, started here,
Mm-hmm.
getting into a resistance, stuck in a pattern of thought.
So, how can we create a safe space for people like this? Or how do you support women or men who want to explore that creative space in their vulnerable state that they're in?
I work on myself and my land and my home. So when the people are with me, I hope that they feel my safety within myself and my authenticity. And I think when people see it, because it's our natural state, it's our birthright, people can, and it's real, they can exhale into it, even if it's just briefly with me. I then encourage them to do it themselves, right? Because we can find safety in community. And so I do things to, through creating community agreements with people when I do corporate work or business work or you work at universities, wherever I'm with a new group of people, we create a community agreement, what we give permission to and what we don't, because people assume a lot. And so I try and encourage people to know what people's boundaries and limits are and not make themselves responsible for them, but respectful of them. Everyone's responsible for themselves. But if a Muslim woman says, I prefer if a man doesn't touch me, there doesn't need to be a judgment. There just needs to be respect. And then you improvise, adapt, and overcome. If someone says, I have trouble with aggression. So even if this is a situation that could get heated, I'd appreciate it if it was stay in assertion and not come into aggression so that I will be able to stay as part of this group. I prefer if you don't call me out, you call me in. So we establish this and give people voice. And I start always with a list of examples. And then I say it's open so that that list can grow. So if people learn to do that with the people they are in their inner circle, their family members, their friends, their roommates, then expand it out. I teach people in corporate environments how to do that in the office, especially with everybody coming back to work and hybrid working. And so like we have to learn how to tend to each other without trying to fix anybody. And
And
so
would that
that's
be
the
something?
external version. And then the
So would
internal
that,
version.
so would that be creating ground rules first before moving on?
Yeah. And then of course you can't really create, it's difficult to make rules when you don't know what your boundaries are. So a lot of safety comes from learning that you need boundaries. And I didn't have boundaries for a lot of years.
Mhm.
And it's clunky when you start doing them. And if you're a person who's just a giver, then it can, or who's scared, it can feel like it's having the opposite effect. It's there to give you security and safety and stabilization and a ground. But if you've never done it before, it actually feels worse. So doing exercises and teaching people little ways and giving people victories in smaller situations where they are in a discomfort and they can find comfort, where you learn to know that there will always be a storm, but instead of jumping into it, be the eye, and learning how to get into the eye of the storm, to be the calm amongst the chaos, and learning to be able to say, if someone needs my help, I'm no longer going to jump into the tornado. I'm going to invite them into the center. Because if we're both in chaos, there's no zen, there's no calm. So even and so that's why I teach mindfulness. I say part of is that you are your own witness, your higher self, your grown self, your mature self, your right now self. Eckhart Tolle totally talks about it as the pain body. I say your little girl lives in your heart and your little boy lives in your solar plexus. These are the masculine and feminine, like in Hindu, the Shiva Shakti. And that we need to parent ourselves. So we need to go and create safety for those parts of ourselves that are unhealed. Go talk to our little guys. Find out what's going on, where the tension, the resistance, the pain is. And, my children have said to me often things where they were furious with me that I have no recollection of even saying. But it does me no good to say to them, that's not true, or that's not what I meant, or I don't even remember that happening. What I need to recognize is that my children are hurt and they found the courage to express their pain to me, and their pain involves me. So what I need to do is let them have voice and not get all tight myself and take it personally, and listen to it and help them tend to their I will tend to their wound so that they can heal it. And they will heal it by feeling heard. So that says that if we tend to our own wounds, we will heal them, and then that every wound we heal internally creates safety. Another way to look at it is that our personality, our ego is like a suitcase, and we've all misused it. It's like a temporary storage unit. It's like a paper bag where when you have something you can't deal with that in that moment, you put it in there to deal with later. But we in Western, what we've done is we pack that suitcase, and when it gets full, we don't, the paper starts to rip. So we switch to leather, and then we get a, even stronger. And then we put a titanium lock on it, and it gets so much pressure that we're like, I'm not opening that. That's going to blow. I've had a client say, if I start to cry, I'll never stop crying. If I let that out, I'm going to hurt somebody. But then I remind them. It's like a Kleenex box too. There's a little one. You just pull one at a time. And actually, also, if you don't like it, you can put it back and pick another one. But for every little thing that we face on our own, whether it's with a counselor or not, but we eventually it's us, right? Ultimately, it's us that we look at and we change our story on. We see it through new light, through the eyes of love instead of fear, without it being a lie. It doesn't need to go back in. And every little bit of one that we take out creates spaciousness, room to breathe, more less tension, less pressure. And when we create and we see how powerful we are and that we can unload that very packed suitcase, that's where our safety comes from. And when we get to the point where our suitcase is emptied and it's like we're putting stuff in all the time, that's life, but using it the way it's meant to, then it's not the death of the ego. Our ego becomes what it is intended to be, our 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 lighthouse when we're off our path. And it's whispers instead of yelling.
Right. So that way you can calm yourself, calm your mind and everything, and just go
And learn
within
how
what
to deal with
is.
all these things that create that resistance, because the lack of safety is actually the resistance. It
Right.
is the resistance that hurts us. Our emotions aren't there to hurt us, they're to teach us, all of them.
Well, it's so much easier to run away from things than facing them. Mhm.
Yes, I mean, that's so many people, they either numb or avoid or mask.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so being in small places, safe places, with someone who can give you that place to practice, to, I would say, what to parents, I said, let your kids fall down,
Mhm.
because as we get older, you're further from the ground. The fall is harder. They're better to learn these lessons when they're little. They're easier lessons, but we can still learn them when we're grown. I'm falling down. Life, Brene Brown says that. I always like to summarize a book in a sentence. Brene Brown has a book, and the entire thing is we fall down, we get up.
Yes.
That's life. And it's
Yes.
true. What I try and teach is I teach a handful. I say to my clients, find your handful and make sure they know they're in your handful. These are the people that when you need somebody, they know that they're one of your people. But don't have one. That's too much responsibility. That what if that person's fallen down at the same time you've fallen down?
Mm.
They're not going to be the ones that's responsible to pick you up.
No.
And if they do, they're depleting an empty tank, and that puts them in danger. You're better to give them the grace and say, "Oh, okay, we're both down right now, and I'll call one of my others." And also that maybe if you're both down together and you're conscious and mindful and you're able to say, "I'm down too. I can't help you up, but I can sit in the mud with you."
Mm.
Right? To be better communicators to ourselves
Mhm.
and to those old parts of ourselves that don't know better, to parent ourselves helps us be more authentic in ourselves, be more confident, be healthier, feel safer, and be kinder and in less judgment of other people.
We need definitely less of that. Like you mentioned before, we need more love in this world right now.
I have a motto. My all of my work and my life goes to this statement. There is only fear or love. Fear is just love and resistance. Therefore, everything is love. And if I say to my clients, they're like, what's the voice inside of me that's the right one? And I say, it's the voice of love. They say, how do I know what this is the voice of love and the voice of fear? Well, the voice of love is not words. It's a knowingness. It's the mom arm that goes out. It's and it feels right. It feels good. Even if it's the answer to a hard situation, it's a knowingness. It's certain. And in the time of AI and political corruption, we now more than ever need to learn how to listen to our hearts. More signals go from all of our heart and our gut to our brain than our brain to the rest of our body. The mind, if we die and you dissect the brain, you're not going to find the mind. The mind, our mind is in our heart and in our gut. It's our masculine and our feminine. And the brain is our processor. So I don't know if that answers.
Yes, it does. And I agree 100%. It all starts. I always say, once you feel those butterflies, you know it's a good thing.
And alternatively, the voice of fear is that rat wheel.
Yes.
You know, it's it
Yeah.
and it doesn't feel good. And it's usually got its finger pointing out.
Hmm.
And once this and this is connected, then the heart can speak, and then it's no longer fear. It is curing the resistance. It is clearing the voice. And so it's exciting, but I also say that fear is everything that doesn't feel good. So to simplify all conflict, if fear is love and resistance, anytime you feel anything that doesn't feel good, that means that person wants what? They want love. And they are in resistance, so they're asking for it spastically. So instead of playing fear ping pong, giving like you're being aggressive with me, I'm going to be aggressive with you. You can't talk to me like that. Remember, what that person needs is love. And if you don't have it to give, that's okay too. Remove yourself from the situation. I always go back to that. Remove yourself. They'll need to find someone else. And that's not your responsibility, even if they want to tell you it is. If you have
Yeah.
it and you choose to give it, give it. If you don't have it, be kind and let them know and remove yourself. Even if they're kicking and screaming. Even with your children.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right? As long as you're safe and they're safe, it's like you do not have permission. I don't feel ready to take your aggression right now. I don't feel like I can take on your problem right now because I'm in one of mine right now.
Right.
Or it's like, "Oh, I'm learning that lesson right now too. Let's sit down and do this together." Or I've done that one. I can help you on that one. If we would all learn to be more like primary school students and a little more playful, happy puppy syndrome.
Yes.
I always say to my clients, I will probably have you snotty crying, but also laughing. I mean, I love laughing through tears with my clients. So a lot of my teachings are, like I said, these nuggets, analogies, imagery, so that when they're under stress, they don't have to look far. And when they're wanting to go like, "Arr," they'll remember some little silly thing that I said and they'll be like, oh, but they'll get it. And they'll be disarmored from tension through humor. Because in
Well, it's
order
about
to laugh,
that
you need to let go.
tension in your body that keeps you stuck in a way, right? It's just
Yes.
having that thought in your head and be like, how can I release that tension? And you said when you make that joke or when you say something funny that they remember it, it's right away going from this to relax and take it in and be like, I was so silly to think that way or to act this way or whatever, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're all on the path and it's the journey, but the path is by no means straight. And there's people chucking stuff from the sidelines and your people falling all over each other. It's like a spastic dance. And if you can't see that as hilarious, it's going to be hard. And
But you
if
know
you
what?
think you're not going to fall down and that you aren't ever going to need to help someone or need help getting up, then you know. Come to Earth. Come. I'll tell you all about it. That's what we're here to learn.
Mm.
How to fall
But
down and how to get up and keep walking the path.
that's what's beautiful about this life. That's
It's
what's
so
beautiful
beautiful.
about being here, because those are lessons. Those are lessons. Those are things that we're learning, and we're passing it on to our next generations.
I think we're passing it on, like the work that you and I are doing. We are passing it also on to our generation, to those who come to us and not desire it. I think that's so beautiful. I mean, that's what you're doing with this podcast. Those that are ready will watch it, and if they watch it, they will receive that love, and
Absolutely.
that if it's meant to resonate with them, they will, and they'll grow from it. But if you never did it,
Yeah.
right? But yes, also passing it on to the next generation, planting the seeds of the trees we'll never see.
Hmm. It's so important to plant these seeds. It's That's the only way we can do it. With my work as a holistic nutritionist, I also don't push things on people in terms of you have to eat this way, this is what you have to do. It's only these little things. It's like you said, planting these seeds. Those are so important. Um,
So you
because
sound like you use a safety approach.
100%, 100%,
The allowing instead of pushing and pulling,
100%,
the offering, the open door, and the invitation without expectation.
100%. Because if you do, then you're creating more resistance, more
Exactly.
failure,
If I'm
right?
pulling or pushing, I'm creating resistance.
That's it.
If I used to think I need to hold on to somebody, but no, that's still, even though the intention is loving, it's attachment.
Yeah.
It took me many, many relationships to realize that I don't want to be with a partner that I need. It's much sexier to want. I want you. I don't want to need you. There
Yeah.
will be moments where I need help, but as an entity, as an overall concept of any relationship, not healthy,
No.
right? So we were talking about humor and anger, and both of them are catalysts for change, to get to shake things up. And I think that so many people get stuck in anger because they feel the power in the spark, in the catalyst. So after the seed is planted, if you don't grow through humor, often people will protect themselves or create this false safety with aggression and anger, because it's like, I need to protect this thing I found. But they don't realize that what people are receiving is the aggression and the anger. They're not seeing the new lesson that you learn, because you've got these walls up and they're prickly. So
Yeah.
I try and encourage people to use anger as a catalyst. It's a powerful tool, but don't go into dirty anger. Don't let anger simmer, because it gets dirty.
Or it gets
But
ugly.
it does. But if you can, violence, name calling, saying mean things just to hurt someone, yelling at someone, swearing at someone, that's all dirty anger. Also, being angry when you share space with people without being conscious, sharing any emotion when you share space with people without checking in, is
Mhm.
not very respectful, right? Like, just because you're angry, you're entitled to your anger, but that doesn't mean you get to barf it all over me. Mindfulness that I taught my kids when they were growing up is, there are two kinds of mindfulness, kids. I can be mindfully in my heart, or I can be mindfully in my fear, in my ego. So I'd say to my kids, I'm mindfully going up to my room for the next 30 minutes. You all know how to call 911. Stay away from me. Don't come in my room. And in 30 minutes, I will come down and mindfully be in my heart and in service to you. And in doing that, first of all, I meant it. And second of all, I taught them that, like, I'm allowed to be miserable. I can even tell you I'm miserable, but I'm not going to make it in your space. I'm going to go in my space to do it. And so instead of punishing my kids, I'm like, I actually don't want to deal with that right now. Can you go do that in your space? Unless there's, maybe there's someone else in the house who can help you right now. Or I can
You
help you with that in half an hour.
you
Not
know
right
what
now,
I
because I just came in from work and I feel like I'm not ready to help you with your
you know what I call this? I call this timeout. It's mommy's timeout.
Yes, exactly.
We are allowed. We're humans at the end of the day. And I mean, we have responsibilities and there's a lot of things going on in our lives, whatever it is. And sometimes life isn't perfect. Like you said, it's not a straight line. So it could be, the driver that was beeping the horn and it gets you going, or it could be your coworker, it could be your boss, it could be whatever it is. You come home and instead of, yes, taking it on your spouse, your kids, your dog, you just take a breath and you're like, I need time out. I need that half an hour, go for a walk, go chill yourself, and then come back. And like you said, bring it from the heart.
That's love. That's
Right.
mindfulness. That's emotional intelligence. That's self-regulation. That's respect. And it's the difference between becoming independent and codependent. When we
Mm,
look in for our answers, we find independence. When we look out for our answers, we find codependence. Now, it doesn't mean go don't get the opinions of others. It's lovely to get as many, and that one story is a dangerous story, right? If you believe just one thing and you don't go out and look at it in another perspective, if I see a six on a table and you're sitting across from me, you're going to see a nine. And I can be like completely right and I can argue with you. But the reality is you're right too. Unless
right.
I'm willing to see it from your perspective. I'm wasting my breath in an argument.
Mm.
That makes sense.
That totally makes sense. Everybody has a different perspective.
And they're valuable, but just because I ask for someone's opinion, sometimes people are like to me, they're like, I don't want that responsibility. I say, what responsibility? I'm an independent woman. I value your opinion because I feel like you have an interesting perspective and you're very different from me. Or you're a lot like me and I'm really stressed right now. So I think that your reflection will help me see myself. But like when you're looking in a mirror and you get a reflection, you can't fix the problem by scratching at the mirror.
Right.
You have to look in.
How can we become unapologetic?
Oh, in an ideal world, there'd never be a reason to apologize, but we are not in that world yet. And I think that's something I teach is proper apology.
Mm,
So when you say unapologetic, do you mean for being ourself?
yes.
Yeah. So when we've done no wrong and people don't like how we're changing,
Hmm.
I say instead of being unapologetic, because there's nothing to apologize for,
Mm,
I say stand in your power. That's where your power is. By being you, regardless of other people's opinion of you. If it's from your heart and it feels good, maybe what's happening is your dynamics, your friendships, your circles are going to change because those that you were resonant with now will be dissonant. And that doesn't have to be a fight or a breakup. It's just like we resonate towards things that are resonant with us. And when we might have been resonating with something and we grew a bit and then they're still staying here, or maybe
yes.
they're resonating towards something else. So many people think it has to be a conflict. It's just flow. It's
I
moving
always,
all over
yeah,
the place.
there's a say, I might get this wrong, but they say people come to you with the season, with the reason for a lifetime in
For
a
a long
way.
time or a short time.
Yes.
They're with you for a reason or a season, sometimes they say too.
Yes.
Yeah, everybody is our teacher. Everyone is our reflection. Everything is our reflection. I like to look at it as like sometimes it's a dark shadow teacher and sometimes it's a light teacher. So the people that are here to teach me things that hurt
Mhm.
are still teachers. And if I can really work at it, I remember it's just a lesson. So that person who did that horrible thing to me or that took that thing from me, it's not about blaming or shaming. I really teach people no blame, no shame.
Mhm.
And beyond blame and shame, what do you have? Well, you have accountability, you have inner
Mhm.
reflection, you have forgiveness, you have grace, you have love, and hopefully your handful to help you get it through it.
Forgiveness is a huge one. How do you help um, women, particularly,
Well, we've
Uh,
been living in a society where we haven't been like societally, we are not granted safety
mm,
and we are not respected and our boundaries are not adhered to. We are we've had many women in our lifetime who've been working on that path as trailblazers, and you and I are two more.
mhm,
But women have a lot of reasons, men too, but different reasons.
mhm,
So forgiveness, some women think of forgiveness as weakness, or that means that that person's behavior was okay. Forgiveness has nothing to do with the other person. When I'm angry with someone, they have no idea what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling. They're not there. And even if they're right in front of me, they don't know. We are the authors of our own lives. A lot of our pain, almost all of it, is just what we're telling ourselves after
mhm,
something has already happened. So forgiveness is for ourselves, for our own. I say, why are you giving them rent in your head? Evict them. That's where your power is. Evict them. And also, why? Why can't you forgive them? What do you like? It's
what do
not
you have?
about them.
Mhm,
There's nothing that forgiveness will do to the other person, right? The action of apology can have some
mhm,
impact, right? So a proper apology in my universe is if you just say you're sorry and your behavior doesn't change, keep your words. Got no
mhm,
interest. A proper apology, the way I teach it is you need to go to the person and you have to tell them what you did to make sure, and then ask them if you got it right. And if you didn't, you need to give them room to clarify it because it's not about you, it's about them. It's not your opinion about what you did wrong, it's about what they felt was violated in them. When you've got it and they've told you you've got it, then you need to figure out how you're going to change your behavior. And you got to figure that out and you have to tell them how you're going to change it or how you're going to find out how to change it. And then you're going to give them a timetable on it and then you're going to do it. And you're going to mess up. So you're also going to let them know that when I fall down, I'm going to be accountable right away and I'm going to correct that. And then I also say there also not only does there need to be a listening, an accountability, a change of behavior, there needs to be what we see now, which is reconciliation, which is not supposed to be forever. It's meant to be the change of behavior should be forever, but the reconciliation that is like the offering.
mhm.
And my partner's like, what am I supposed to get you flowers every time I do something wrong? And I'm like, it's not about the flowers. It's about whatever you offer me is something I want, not what you want to give me, but that you know me well enough that you're offering something that will soothe me after this situation. It
Mhm,
could be words, it could be action, it could be a thing, but that there's a gesture of correction, of affection that is given in humbleness by that person who has done wrong. All those steps is what an apology is.
what
And it
about
also creates safety, right? So when you have a relationship, whether it's work or love or family, if someone's broken your trust and they're apologizing and it's just they're like, say sorry to your brother. If that kid
mm,
doesn't understand what actually has to happen, and so few people are taught that growing up, then they just say the words and like, well, I said I'm sorry. I'm like, but did you mean it? Didn't sound like you mean it. What does it
yes,
mean? What are you going to
yes.
do? What's going to change? Nothing. I already said I'm sorry, right?
So they have an understanding of, yes, what they have done and what they can do to be better. But what about forgiveness to ourselves?
Oh,
Because
so
we can
important.
apologize to other people, we can, forgive, we can apologize, but what about ourselves?
Well, I think all of the other apologies and all of that we want from others is really about what we are lacking in our story and ourself, right? There's a wound there. There's a neediness, So
Mhm,
why would I not forgive myself for something that I did that was stupid or hurtful to another? I mean, I know that I don't do things to hurt people on purpose. I also know I will hurt people. And so Even if I didn't mean it, they still deserve that apology process. And when it comes to me, I find that's the person I find it hardest to apologize to. I find it difficult to go through all those steps with me. So the forgiveness of the self requires change in behavior, requires you do something nice for yourself, requires that you sit with your little, remember we talked about the higher self talking to the two kids, that you actually didn't just give them candy and an iPod or an iPad, right, to avoid and deal with it later. You actually sat with them and listened to what it was that you're judging yourself for that needs to be forgiven, and that you are clear with yourself and you take those steps to change it. And then you do it. And then you remember you're not going to be perfect, because remember we talked about neural pathways and automatic response. You have to build a new pathway, which comes from a lot of other repetition and learned behavior. So when you're under stress, you go to the automatic response. If the other one hasn't been built yet, it's hard. So you will fall down, even with yourself. So being kind to yourself, and saying, oops, I own that.
Mhm.
In
Do you
couples
know?
and in relationships, I offer a tool called, would you like to do that again? And it's like, I'd like to try it again, or would you like to try that again? So I'm in the middle of a conversation and I'm saying something with a bunch of aggression in my voice. And then I stop myself and I go, wait a minute, I'd like to try that again. And I've pre-established the rules. So my people in my life know when I get scared, I sometimes get aggressive. And so I want to take that back, deal with the aggression, and then speak to you in clarity, because you don't deserve my aggression. And then when I have somebody coming at me and it doesn't feel good, and when it doesn't feel good, I'm not actually able to listen to the words, because I'm triggered by the way it's coming to me. Instead of saying walking away or freezing or fighting or fawning or whatever the fear response is, I say, could you try that again?
Mm.
You need to pre-establish the tool. Again, I've used it in schools and corporate and families, in my own life. And you actually really don't need to use that tool very often, because once everybody understands it and knows that they have permission to fail, to not be perfect, and that the rule applies in the moment, like right mid-sentence, applies a year, anytime, a couple months down the road. At any time, you can go back and and the person can be like, oh, it doesn't matter. And you go, no, I would like to do this. Will you be here with me? I would like to say that the way that I said that, I'm going to own that. And and they do, whether you receive that finally actually as a proper apology or explanation, I believe they will in their heart, even if they don't right away consciously. I'm doing this for me. I'm reprogramming. I'm creating the new neural pathway by choosing it now.
Mm. I think consciousness, awareness.
Mindfulness.
Hmm. What are some of the small daily habits or practice would you recommend to cultivate those mindfulness and authenticity for people who are listening?
Yeah. Yeah, I encourage, and in Unedited Woman, it's part of the foundation for everybody to create a daily practice. But also, and a lot of people, I also ask them to figure out what they believe in, and a lot of people have had experiences of what they think that is, and it's hokey or it's religious or it's spiritual, and that's not who they are. Well, it doesn't anybody. It's about self-regulation and self-discipline, and about being part of the human race, the whole, not just an individual. And so some of the universal ones I offer: before your feet hit the floor in the morning, do 10 breaths and 3 gratitudes, and do the same thing before bed. Why? Because in the morning when you wake up, you will do those breaths, and it will be the beginning of your mindfulness practice for the day. Some mornings I wake up and I go, okay, I got to do my 10 breaths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I haven't even done breaths. I'm just counting to 10. I'm like, oh, I'm rushy today. So I do it again until I can do 10 breaths and count them. Sometimes I'm so nervous. I have so much on my mind. I get to 5 and I'm writing lists, and I forgot I was even trying to do 10 breaths. Sometimes I go 1, 2, 3 and I'm snoring. So sometimes I'm tired. Sometimes, so I'm informing myself, self-regulation, mindfulness, and love, because I notice and I fix it with my breath, which is simple.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, that was a rough 10 breaths. It took me like 20 goes at it till I got 10 breaths. And then I say
Mhm.
3 gratitudes. And again, like that whole thing we are talking about before, does it need to be in the heart of the mind? It's best if it's in the heart, but sometimes my mom always says her favorite one is well, at least I woke up on the green side of the grass. There can be sarcasm, playfulness in it. Just be grateful for
Yeah.
something that is actually positive, and that changes your chemicals in your body. It changes the way that your hormones and your chemicals, so serotonin instead of having cortisol. So it
Mhm.
actually, on a chemical level, gratitudes do that, and the breaths activate mindfulness. So one is the way you wake and walk your day. The other is the rest in your life is so important. Sleep is so important, but if you're not aware of what you're going to bed with,
Mhm.
then you are not going to get a good as rest. So if you do this exercise before bed, you're also mindfully deciding how you're going to sleep at night. And,
Mhm.
if you're all distracted, there's all kinds of things we can do to adjust and prepare ourselves properly, even if we have to get up for half an hour. And again, these things I suggest when you go to bed and when you wake up, but I also use those breaths and the gratitudes when I wake up in the middle of the night, when I'm walking through the day and I'm not functioning well. So there's one practice. The other practice is that you, every day that you can, just sit still, be quiet, and listen. 10 minutes, set a timer, close your eyes. When you're ready, I suggest doing it in public because that helps with people worrying about being judged and insecurity and safety. But anywhere, and in your house, you should have a place that is your spot. Now, it could be movable, right? It could be a chair that moves around the house, but
It's
it's
a
the
safe
chair.
space.
That's
Mhm.
right. And it's the ritual to create the discipline of saying, I'm worth it and I'm
Mhm.
responsible for me. And I'm going to live today consciously as a mature, responsible person. And I'm going to be responsible for my words, my actions, my thoughts, my feelings, and my energy, which are the only 5 things we're in control of.
Mhm.
And let everything else be none of my business.
Mhm. I like that.
Just that is a lot. I have
I always,
tons of exercises though. Like every month in the program, there are breaths, yoga postures, exercises, all that each one has something for the body, the mind, the spirit. So I don't expect everybody to do everything that's in the chapter. If you actually look at the book, there's so much information, but you do it every year. And it's like any kind of creative thing you can experience. For example, I had to read Hamlet in high school, and I actually quite liked it. I had a great teacher, and I did it in English class. And then when I did it in drama class, it was a completely different experience. Then when I picked it up many years later, it was a completely different story for me because we have a different perspective, like the 6 and the 9. So
yeah.
ritual, daily practice are so important, and repetition is important, and having many tools to get through the same door. So when one doesn't work, you have a toolbox that's full that says, fine, chuck that one back in the box, pick up another one, don't give up. And if you can't find it in your toolbox, you have your handful. So they can remind you of your tools or lend you one of theirs.
Yeah. I always, I always believe in um, the breath for sure, gratitude. And then I always find that at the end, your body will regulate and will help you heal in a way,
Absolutely.
whatever, if it's anger, if it's lack of something, or whatever it is, it will guide you on the path of healing, right? You'll
Yes.
have a bit more of an understanding.
Oh, it's
And
so
then
true. I
it's
see a
so
lot. Sorry.
yeah, you get so addicted after that you're like, I want more. Let me have it.
I find that a lot of women in their middle age in particular, but any age, once you start menstruating for sure, our hormones are fluctuating so much. And a lot of our health has to do with our hormones. And we don't have enough study in women's health that when you go to a family doctor, they look at you as a woman and think of women's issues. And so I think that for everybody, but in particular women, um, you really need to be mindful about how you can actually minimize so much of the stress in your life by what you put into your body and how you move your body and how you breathe your body. And of course, you know all about that. And, great when you get to all three, but grab onto even one. If you can't control your food yet and you don't want to exercise yet, just breathe. Just do that. So we go back to the root. What did I say at the very beginning of this conversation? Stop, relax every muscle in your body. I mean, what some people realize is that I can't, but I don't care because what you've just done is become mindful of your body. So you've already had progress. And now you know where you have some resistance. And if you can't do it on your own, I'll help you. So another thing that I offer people after the breathe and relax is a tennis ball, or I mean yoga balls, but I get them variations at Dollar Tree and stuff because not everybody has $25. And I'm like, where it hurts, put it there and lean on it and breathe. Roll your hands, roll your feet. You have acupuncture points that had every part of your body on your feet, your hands, your ears, your face. And if you can't do any of that, maybe what you need is to double it up with not only something care for the body through movement, but it's care through the body through touch. So go get a massage. Maybe that, I mean, I know for me, that's I got healthy first, and now I'm on the journey of being fit after an illness. And when I was getting healthy, there were moments where I was so frustrated at myself for being not fit. But there was every time I tried to go exercise, I was hurting myself because of the things that were unhealthy in me. And I think that people also judge, there's a lot of, assumption around different body types, but the most essential thing that you can be is healthy. And you can be healthy in a skinny body, in a curvy body, but you need to move it. You need to breathe it. You need to feed
I
it. And you
but
need
I
to do it the best you can.
but I also believe is accepting yourself. We are so different. Some women are very skinny. Some women have curves. Some women are a little bit bigger bone structure, and we cannot fit into that one form. We
No.
created so different, and accepting yourself of who you
Yeah.
are will make it impact and make it so much easier on yourself and people around you who want to be around you.
So
So
true.
yeah.
Well, you mentioned the mirror exercise, and that's the other one that I give everybody. And I say, where I started was in the bathtub in low lighting, candle lighting with my phone. So the mirror was really small and it was just my face, and I looked amazing because of the lighting. So I could look at myself. And then I would say my I ams. And one that used to got me for over a year was saying, I am enough. I would snotty cry as I said it because I didn't feel like I was enough. But by repeating it over time, I stopped crying. I started believing it. And the mirror exercise, I say you can start there, but the goal is buck naked, full length mirror, full light, curves,
Yep.
cellulite, rolls, scars. That is the map of your life, and every body is beautiful. And you need to zoom out until you can look at yourself fully and say, hey, if you think it's disgusting, why?
Mhm.
If I say to anybody, if I say to somebody, am I enough? Almost no one's gonna say to me, no. They're gonna laugh. Yes,
Mhm.
but almost everybody feels a little not enough in some area in their life.
Mhm.
So I try and remind myself, that we we're all enough, exactly as we are, where we're at. It's everything in perfection. And we're all of it is another thing I teach people, that there's no point in judging, because you could as easily be the villain, the victim, or the hero. You could be the murderer. You could be all those things that you find so repulsive.
Mm,
We're all one step away.
mm.
And to have compassion instead of judgment.
So important
And
to remember
that's
that.
it. Anytime we feel judgy, it's a good time to go do some service,
Mm.
or sit still, be quiet, and listen. Or both would be an even better recommendation.
That's learning how to listen is a skill.
Mm.
It's definitely a skill. You have to listen. You have to learn how to listen, because it's easier to jump in the conclusion and cut someone off, or not listening to the whole, either a explanation, the conversation that someone was trying, or the message that someone was trying to persuade or give to someone. It's like jumping in that conclusion of not knowing what they're trying to say.
And also being on the flip side of that and realizing that sometimes people jump in because they can't contain all the information,
Mm,
or they're like an excited puppy, or they have trauma.
mm,
And that is that's their safety response. That's their journey to safety. Is like, I have a voice, because they didn't for a long time. And they
right.
don't see it as rude, even though it comes across that way. And they're just like, right? Like, I teach this between men and women. We talk, there's differences. Again, very broad and general. Men, masculine, processes one thing at a time and is linear. So if you want to talk to a man, as a woman, we often, if we're upset, come with our circuitous version. But I would say use your handful. Not, take that essay, that epic novel, and turn it into a haiku before you deliver it.
Yes.
The man wants to be your king. He wants to serve you. So give him the nugget and he'll do it. But if you think you're being clear in a 20-minute explanation, he was gone at the first one.
Yeah.
And I say that masculine, feminine, we all have masculine and feminine. The same thing applies when people are under stress or scared, right?
Mm,
You need to break everything down into one, and to check and see if they understood and were listening instead of just hearing you. A kindness is to stop at every thought and ask, like an apology, whether you got it right, whether they heard you. Let them repeat it back to you, let them have room for questions,
mm,
and that really helps as well.
mm. It's all about learning. It's all about being open and receiving at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah.
What impact do you hope your work will have on men and women in what you do?
Well, I am a messenger of love.
Mm,
I hope that what people learn is the most powerful thing. We are love. And my motto is be love, see love, give love, receive love. If we did that, if we were all in service to each other, we would want for nothing. But my ultimate goal globally,
mhm,
it's big, is to teach people an alternative to war. And I mean global, and also internal and in interrelationships with people, that we find a way to, not in a weak way or in an inefficient way, to communicate in a way that no longer allows or requires war, where we hurt somebody, where we say, if you hit somebody again, I'm going to smack you,
mm,
or this is, I'm going to come and blow you up because we're trying to make peace. It's ridiculous. And yet it is in inertia. We talk about the neural pathways. That one in our global brain is such a big, big automatic response that it's going to take all of us one at a time, learning within ourselves how to not do that to ourselves, and
Mm.
then practicing, which is why we have our Unedited Woman core group. We practice on our calls. We have 2 calls a month. We're in love month, so we're in the fourth chakra right now. And it was so funny because one of the women came in and she brought a lot of aggression. And instead of being in judgment, we gave her the invitation to allow us to collectively resolve this from a love perspective. And we realized there were a lot of different opinions about how to correct the situation. And in the allowing of discomfort, we avoided creating a disease, right? A sickness.
Yes.
People were able to voice their discomfort. People were able to say their different perspectives. And then we were able to ask more questions until we came to a place where everybody felt like, not as a collective, but in each other within ourselves, that we were okay with the outcome. So if I
Mm.
can figure that out on myself, which I'm working on, and I can figure out within my group of women and then spread that, because women, we are, the feminine is the nurturer.
Yes.
Where are we going? That's our job. We can't be mad at men for all their wrongdoings. Our poor young men are I mean, I'm dealing with so much erectile dysfunction, I'm afraid of relationship and sex, um, uh, unhealthy pornography relationships that are leading to that sexual dysfunction, um, video gaming, social media, which is avoiding real intimate contact connection that isn't sexual. Intimacy is into me see, right? It doesn't mean just sex. So the more we can heal the masculine and feminine in ourselves, is our next call on love is we can now understand the feminine. But what about the masculine? How do we get feminine without masculine? Masculine is the action. It's the objectivity. If you just
So,
had feminine, nothing would ever get done. But if
so
you
I
only
want to,
do and you don't feel, then people get bulldozed.
so I want to ask you when and where and how women have pivoted to be more masculine, because some women are, I mean, in nature with some women are not, but I find it that from my perspective, I find it that somewhere in the 90s,
Oh yeah,
which,
the 90s for
I
sure.
mean, the revolution of the woman, which was great, but the divorce rates, right? Women became single mothers. They had to take the role of the
Both.
dad, right? So that is more masculine than feminine, right? Because they have to do the both roles. But I think right now we're in the stage where, again, not every woman, but I'm talking about in general, that we are more masculine than we used to be.
Hmm. Well,
How?
if we, this is because of that thing I was talking about before, that if we don't learn how to follow our inner guidance and get our insights from our heart, then we learn from the external world, and what the external world is taught is the masculine
Right,
and the patriarchal structure. So
right,
we have to invent it. And, for all the oppression in any relationship, there's each individual is 100% responsible for themselves and 50% responsible for any problem. And a lot of people don't want to hear this, but if you were in an abusive relationship, you stayed. Now, this isn't blame. This is the way out. This is the way back to your own healing and grace. It's never going to be about blaming him, no matter how rotten he was or
right,
her, right? It's about saying, why did I stay? Why did I feel like I needed, why did I allow myself to be treated that way?
right.
Right? So an example of that, you were saying the 90s, I see that also as women moved into the corporate environment, they were taking on masculine behaviors, unhealthy masculine behaviors, instead of and trying to think of external ideas of power being about control and dominance and hierarchy, which is not healthy in masculine or feminine. We need the knights of the round table, not a hierarchical structure. We so how do we fix that? Well, I have a mindfulness room in a corporate building downtown, and I want to see those opening up where there's like lunch and learns and morning practices and people that you can drop in and see to seek information and tools on how to get there. Um, but yeah, it's there is a lot of, I mean, let's look at how television and film has gone. In the up until the 90s, it was all television and movies and even books were about the hero. And
Mm,
then we switched to the anti-hero. So now we're in constant perpetuation of poor behavior as and being able to have compassion, which is great. But what we've done is we've enabled the anti-hero. We've justified bad behavior,
mm,
right? We can watch Dexter. We can have compassion. There's so many likable qualities about him. He's a
yeah,
serial killer,
yeah,
right? Well, one, if notice that any areas in myself where I'm like that, because you can't notice about anything unless it exists in yourself.
right.
And then how do I teach that the value and the importance of the masculine and feminine? So you mentioned the loss of the man in the home. It's very, 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 very bad. One, a woman can't be the mother and the father, and two, it takes a team, and
Yeah.
you need to be able to tap out. And these single parents, mom or dad, without a place to tap out, that's why the pluralistic societies are sometimes at an advantage. People who live where literally, they have aunties or it's the whole village or the tribe that they're everybody's kids. When I was growing up, I lived on a block that was a circle in Canada. It's called Carmichael Court. And there was this inner circle and an outer circle. And in every window on the street, there was the block parents. Remember block parents?
Yes,
So if that was in the window, you could go knock on the door if you're ever in distress, but also everybody talked to each other. So everyone was
yes,
my mother and father. I couldn't do anything because they were all going to be like, young lady, did I see you just during that? So
yes,
there was safety in community. Now, if you have a child outside of your hand distance or in the backyard unsupervised, they're like people call children's aid.
yes, yes. We need to get back to what it used to be.
Community.
Yes,
Hmm.
community,
That's why
community.
that's why I want to start this year. We're in year 4 of Unedited Woman. We're going to start meeting with other men who are doing their work in their way and seeing how we can learn each other through asking and being in physical presence with each other and playing and questioning.
And
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 it's
having these open communications and um, you know, not disagreements, but if someone does not understand, for example, having someone explaining to them of what it is or how they perceive it, so that way they can have a little bit more of an understanding. And
yeah.
again, like I said, it's
And
coming as one. We're no different. It's having these communications and having these communities when people can feel safe,
oh
can
yeah.
feel present, can feel that they're heard, that they're not being disregarded and be like, well, your message or your information is not important. I think this is the
So
time where
important.
we do need to come together. I agree.
And also, what if we can disagree? I think it's important to be able to disagree.
Oh,
I don't have
100%.
to agree with you, but can we still be friends? Can we still share space? This is, the trucker convoy and all of that stuff. Like, we don't have to have the same opinion. Why do we have to be angry that people see it differently? Why can't we say, okay, well, society as a whole is choosing to handle it this way. I've done what I could to change it. It's not going to change. So I'll change. And that might mean change location or it might mean change behavior. We all have that choice. And I have friends who had different opinions on vaccine, on politics, on all kinds of things than me. But
Yeah,
that's not all of what our relationship is based on. Plus,
100%.
if you really love yourself, it's fun when you have people that think things differently than you.
Well, you
There's a
learn
lot
from
of That's right. You and you get to play in the banter from the different perspectives.
That's
If you're not
it.
afraid, then you can play.
That's it. Yeah.
It
I
becomes an
100%.
intellectual conversation instead of an argument.
Yes. Yes. Which we need more.
That's the
Which
goal.
we need more.
So I'm starting my monthly women's circle again as well, which will be open to everybody. And everyone's welcome to go to the Unedited Woman community page on Facebook, and there's stuff on Instagram too. They can go to my website, nataliefraser.ca, and look in the drop down for Unedited Woman and join the core program that starts again in September. Every September, there's a show at the Gladstone too, and a publication. So you don't even need to be a member of the core group. Anybody can come and any woman can come and say, "Can I actually tell a story about myself on stage?" And I got to tell you, some women sing it, some dance it, some. We've had years where there were people painting on stage, and they revealed at the end. You I'm open. It's our show. It's let's have voice and be in that supported, safe space and community where we can bring our families and friends and say, I am. In this moment, I am. And I'm going to express it this way because it's the way I feel like expressing it. And, same if I don't want to do it in words, then I could, this year we did a calendar, one year we did a book. I don't know what we'll do this not coming year, but because there are women all over Canada. So, and I'm hoping eventually all over the world so that there's an opportunity for these voices to be heard. I do it in little mini day retreats where we take a photograph of so that women can feel like the mirror, where they can find a picture where they like, yeah, I look good. That's what I wanted to look like. And they start with a quote. So they make a quote and then we capture it in a picture. And then as the day's going on, everybody's waiting to get their photograph. Everyone writes a 500-word story about where they're at as a woman. And at the end of the day, we all share our quotes, our image, and our story with each other. So a little micro version of becoming an unedited woman.
Mm, that's beautiful. Natalie, thank you so much for sharing all of this knowledge, all of your wisdom. Is there any final thought you'd like to share with us?
Hmm. I love you, even if you think it's weird. I see you as family, and I love you. Regardless of how you treat me, I love you. What will change is your proximity to me based on your behavior. I offer my reflections and I remind you not to scratch at the mirror, that your answers will come from within, and that my story is my story and you don't have to agree with it. But if you want to talk about it, reach out. You can find me on Facebook, on LinkedIn. I'm Osa Natalie Fraser. If you put it in, I'll come up. And you can go on my website if you want and book a 20-minute free consult if you want, even. But it doesn't matter what platform, I will show up for you. And if both of us feel like we're a match, maybe we'll do some of this work together.
Natalie, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, kindred sister. Really
Thank
honored.